I'll make a motion, we accept them as written.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Scott?
Scott Bell, Recreational Services Director. Staff report I've got, so one, those not here. Very excited to welcome Dan Fleckenstein to filling the seat C for the Park and Recs Commission. Some of the things, let me double check, I think it's down later. I did want to report kind of the results of the budget, but actually that's later on the agenda, so I'll come back to that. You should have it, the dais, we have the finished Parks Passport, which has been printed and distributed through Menard Sports Center, the library, the museum, and Public Works here. Additionally, they've been delivered to multiple businesses throughout the community. I believe one of the churches, King's Chapel, has them, and so we kind of got it integrated a little bit later than we'd liked. But it will be able to kind of line up next year's printing production with the budget, because it was kind of offset, so we had to wait till the budget passed in July, which obviously missed when the kids were in school. But we have a very good product that is now, I think, is inclusive of all the parks, and we've added a few other areas of activity like the museum and the library and things like that. So you've got that in front of you, and if you have a place that you'd like to distribute, just let Tammy know. We can get you some and get those out in the community. And then the goal will still be now with the revised budget that what we will be looking at for next year is to have it as a downloadable off the website and some activities through a website, things like that. It just didn't have the budget or the time. So that will be our primary focus next year. And then again, another production run targeting distribution in April, making sure we get all the kids before they leave school and get that program activated. We are projecting to do our Halloween Spooktacular at the Menard Sports Center as a community event, which will be Friday, October 31st, 6:45 to 8:45, and it'll be free to the community. And the Facebook Wasilla Park and Recs page, we are currently up to 3,903 followers, and that is staff report.
Thank you. Quick question. How are we seeing any results from last year's Park Passport?
The results were not in the sense that people were turning them in, because one of the programs that we had with that is you turn them in, you complete it, turn it in, you get a certificate, and then you can go into a drawing. We didn't have any success there. So now we just kind of view it as more of a informational get active. We're not worried about how many times they use it, don't use it. But
Let's get it out there.
Yeah, we're getting it out there. And again, then the other part, not only downloadable, is to create a website that then has all the information for each park and its history and the things like that. So that's kind of the focus. So it's finally up online and available to anybody.
All right. Thank you. I'd like to hear from Jesse. You got a few words of wisdom?
Yes, sir. How are you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Jesse Griffiths. I'm the Parks and Property Supervisor. We've had a very busy summer, a lot accomplished, a lot of good things. We've maintained all the mowing and all the buildings and all the playground areas, bathrooms, trash, flowers, beautification. It was just a wonderful year. We had a great temp group that just came in and they worked their tails off and they did just a great job for us. Just to kind of update you, I did a park. They finished to completion the pavement around the whole park, so the path is completely walkable for anybody, whether you're in a wheelchair, and I would say it's ADA compliant at this point. Over at Newcomb, we repainted the tunnel and cleaned out a bunch of mess out of there from some homeless debris and stuff like that. We're working on the lighting and getting a set of some type of cameras. We haven't kind of came to full term on what we want that to be. to where hopefully we have access to be able to video and see what's going on in that tunnel at all times before we actually open it up. We're shooting for hopefully in the beginning of next summer. At the skate park, there's been a lot of vandalism as far as painting of nasty languages and inappropriate gestures. That's kept our guys busy painting it off, trying to keep that to where young kids don't have to see that stuff. Lake Lucille Park, they added a new half-mile trail out there. It's called the Red Trail. If you haven't been out there, it's beautiful. It's paved. It's awesome. Looks good. We have a couple issues going on out there. We're going to do some work on the playground structure out there. We've had 3 of our 6 people that are on the Parks and Rec, the Parks crew. They're actually certified playground inspectors now. So I'm hoping that's going to really bring some big change for as far as getting things upgraded and the safety issues being dealt with. And it was real eye-opening, but it was also very good to bring up people that haven't been involved in it before, to where when they're going out there doing that, they understand what they're doing. So we'll be fencing off a couple of those parks. Carter Park, there's a little bit of swaying going on in the upper portion of it when you're up on the platforms. We're gonna end up having to dig down and find out what's going on in the concrete and go back in and fix whatever that may be before next summer starts. Cottonwood Creek, we moved 3,400 pounds of trash from a homeless camp. Over at the train depot, we also moved another 1,700 pounds of trash from a homeless camp. So we've been very busy and just dealing with a lot of different issues as they come. But it was a very productive year, and you know, I've heard a lot of good compliments on how the parks look and the upkeep. So thank you guys. That's what I have for you today.
Thank you. Brings us to the public comments. Anybody for public comments?
Afternoon, Council. I've got some paperwork that I'm going to reference. Can I distribute some?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're just they're past objects from this council. That's all. I got one for each of you. Just to make it a little bit easier to read. Just not too all over the place.
And when you sit down, would you please give your name, address?
Okay. Hello, my name is Rory Grant. I live on Lake Shore Ave. And some of the things I just wanted to talk about is kind of the game plan for the end of the Peck Street easement. I know that paperwork that I showed you guys there, it talks about how about 10 years ago in 2010, they decided not to go forward because of the fish habitat. And as it stands now, the property is, it's beginning to be developed, whether it's in a public nature or in a private nature, right? The property next door lives in the Matsu borough. They're not a Wasilla voting member, and they've begun to plant trees, use it as access for themselves, defend it thoroughly, and deny access to the point of, it's unfortunate because Wasilla City is named after Wasilla Lake, right, or vice versa, and Fred Meyers is like the second largest lakefront landowner, which is crazy, right? Newcomb Park is great. Thank you for all your work on that. I appreciate it. And it's just something that in 50 years we're gonna look back and say, darn, we should think about maybe doing something with this, right? And there's a lot of talk about the parking and so on and so forth, but if you look at Anchorage, their vacant land is constantly developed because of their inability to develop, right? So homeless people show up, they'll do stuff there. And in this case, a private property owner will begin to do things on public land because the public refuses to do anything with it. So it's a little complicated, but I think it's worth having a conversation about, and maybe continued conversations, and maybe, in the document in there, sorry guys, I'm not a very good public speaker here, but in the document, I reached out to the DNR and asked for a section line easement assessment, and they identified that there is no question that Wasilla owns the land, right? And it is the border for Wasilla. So the neighboring property is in the Matsu borough, and they don't vote in Wasilla, but they occupy Wasilla land, which I think is, it's a little bit bigger of a conversation, that's all. So, yeah, just to kind of let you know about it, and, you know, Parks and Rec is one thing, planning is another. Just to let you guys know, you know, I mean, it's 23 yards. You know, Fred Myers sits on 300 yards. That's crazy. So, thank you.
Thank you for your time. Might say, have you talked with planning?
Yeah, no, I have not.
Okay, because really, they're the ones that are gonna have more power over this certain situation. I'm sorry that it's happened, but our hands are kind of tied when it comes to that.
Yeah. No,
But I would recommend getting a hold of the planning department.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
I didn't see a sign to,
Sign in, please. No,
is that digital?
no, just kidding.
Evening, my name is Michael Fugere, and I live on 1060 East Seneca. And the lower side of our townhouse is right along Lakeshore Drive. So we're right across from the lake there. And when we moved in there 20 years ago, it was said that that was Wasilla Lake access, and we would be able to take our canoes and kayaks and stuff down there and launch them and go out. It's been contentious for many years, 20 years that I know of. It's been contentious in that neighborhood. So it'd be very nice. I have a motorized kayak, but it's only 3 foot wide, and you may have seen me running around town with a wheelchair with the boat hooked to the back. That is me. I take it from where I'm at Lake Shore over to the park so I can launch it.
Because you don't have access.
Because I don't have direct access to the lake right there off the end of Peck Street, which is something that we were told when we were buying into those new buildings at the time, that there was going to be access there.
Have you explored this with any other department?
No, I have not.
We're the first on the list, huh? Okay,
Well,
yeah.
Rory brought this to my attention.
Well, I
So
think it's
I'm-
important that if something is not right, that needs to be brought to the attention of as many as you can get in front of. My suggestion would be, like I mentioned, Rory, would be to contact planning and because we don't have any powers, police powers. We're just a committee that gives information to the city council for them to act on our recommendations or dispel our recommendations. So I would suggest.
Thank you for the next step that I need to
I
go
would-
forward
I
on
would
that.
say yes.
I really
I don't know.
appreciate that.
Do we have any
And,
other comments that would give him a different direction other than planning? Yes.
So, my name is Eric Shaw, I'm Public Works Director. I've met with Rory multiple times about this right-of-way. I think if the Parks and Rec Commission wants to weigh in on the value of public access, I think that's a valid mechanism for your voice to be heard. So, I don't need it for road access. It goes to a lake. It's not big enough for a boat launch parking lot, but it is Wasilla right-of-way. So it is identified usually for transportation. The rest of Lakeshore Avenue and Peck are right-of-ways, of course, that are solely within my purview with road maintenance, all of that. So I think if the Parks and Rec Commission wanted to approach the city council and say, we see this as a valuable trail connection and want to talk about what it might look like to develop neighborhood access, I think that's a valid perspective to share in your roles as you play. One of the things Mr. Rory and I have talked about is there can be too much of a good thing. And so if it becomes the next hot access to the lake, then there are going to be intentional and unintentional consequences. So I think it should be a very balanced approach on the level of access and thinking about if on a hot summer day, if 100 people want to use that access, what does that do for parking along the road? So we want to kind of tiptoe into improved access, but Mr. Grant is correct that it is a city-owned right-of-way. There is some unfortunate misunderstandings from the neighboring property owner on where their property line is versus where they thought it was when they bought it. They have some encroachment issues on our right-of-way, and they have encroachment issues on the borough right-of-way, which is labeled as, trying to remember what the name of that street is. I think it might still be the continuation of, so the continuation of Lakeshore Avenue, which goes to the dead end, that's a borough right-of-way. We have the Peck Street right-of-way, and then we have the eastern side of East Lakeshore Avenue. So that homeowner is aware that they were misunderstanding what their property size was when they bought it, and that they misunderstood where they put a shed and some fencing, and so they have a long-standing misunderstanding of stuff they've paid to build. And so, understandably, they're a little frustrated about putting all this time and energy in when they were led down the wrong path by non-city people. But, so this is gonna be a complicated problem to solve, but I think if the Parks and Rec Commission wants to take it up as a project to identify to the council what you think the best long-term outcome is, I think that's why the neighborhood is talking to you, because they're looking for maybe a park relationship with that access.
Yeah, and I can understand the frustration. However, I think that somewhere along the line, whatever is in place at the time that those properties were sold needs to be addressed. They need to come up to that standard that we set forth in the city of Wasilla.
Yes.
And also the borough set forth.
Right.
In their planning process.
Yep, and they have code compliance issues, so the borough could move and say, we've identified your encroachments in our right-of-way, and now these are the legal ramifications, you must do X, Y, Z. I think to start that process also means that the city as a stakeholder in this needs to think logically about what the outcome is. I don't think, in my mind, this is not a good spot to create a boat launch ramp, right? We don't have any parking, it's too steep, but the pedestrian access or even a trail that's improved enough to get a kayak trailer down there, that's not outside the realm of possibilities in my mind, but there does need to be sensitivity to the way that house was built by many predecessing owners. And I think it'd take a community plan with the backing of the Parks and Rec Commission on what the final use looks like.
So
Thank you for your time.
the question is, how many property owners right in that pocket want to have access for a canoe or for a kayak?
Out of our 76 units, I would think we would have probably at least 10 minimum. And we have 76 units in our association there. We're with Lakeside Terrace Townhouses is where we are at, and it comes from the medical center to Peck Street and from Lakeshore up to Bogart. That's our.
So allowing a public access means that the entire neighborhood would then.
We would have access and we wouldn't need parking in any way,
Right,
really,
right.
because, it's walking distance, and like I'm saying,
And that was part of the sales process that you,
that's stuff that we were being told at the time, that we were buying the new ones on Lakeshore that had just been built in
I
2005.
think it's been kind of a, I don't want to use the word rumor, but it's been thought of and spoken to by, there's supposed to be access there, but when you look, there isn't any. But it's one of those things of, if it could be developed as to keeping it on a more or less a footpath, so it didn't encroach to, making it look like, gee, we're gonna back in trailers here because there's no parking. If it could be, that sort of a thing, it seems that it would be logical and to give people access without disturbing the whole neighborhood and causing a problem with, you know, people coming from miles away wanting to park there and launch.
Yeah, it'd be more, you know, closer to a neighborhood type thing. Other people would notice it because they drive down around that corner all the time trying to avoid the lights on Bogard. We've got speeding problems there all the time as well that have been addressed by city council before, which we appreciate. But, yeah, I
tell you
would
what.
really like access, and I appreciate you putting me in that direction.
Sir, can you spell your last name for us?
Fugere.
Thank you very much. Thank you
Glenda-
for your time.
Glenda knows me too.
Oh, yeah, who does? Oh, no. I think, just to close that up, I think that, you know, when they've got an ordinance, they've got it on the paper. That's, to me, it's kind of not really something that's debatable. It's something I understand that, you know, you reach out and tap them on the forehead and say, you're not doing right, you're gonna have to change this. That's gonna cause them hate and discontent. But if at the same time, put the shoe on the other foot, if it was them, that's the attitude that they need to have. And like I said, we don't have anything, but I will research this and see if we can at least move some request to the council to take another look.
I'd like to address.
Sure.
Hey, Tammy, Dan said he's on. He can hear us, he just can't talk.
Tell them to speak up.
It says it's connected.
My name is Grant Rathall. Rathall spelt like the wrath of God, all. Mad at everybody. It's an English name. I bought my property, I have a townhouse, Lakeside Terrace, 638 Yakima Street is my address. And I bought my property December of 1939, or 1939. December of 1989, okay?
Okay.
And I bought it, I went up to the real estate agent's place up in Big Lake, and his name was, believe it or not, Abe Lincoln. And his card said, Honest Abe Lincoln, and his real name was Abraham Lincoln. So I guess he was named after Abraham Lincoln. Anyway, I was driving back to Wasilla that night, or to Anchorage, and he gave me a hint. He said, oh, a lot of snow and a lot of moose out tonight. Be careful. If you see any flickering lights down there on the road going across the swamp, you know, he said, be careful. It could be a moose walking across the highway. And sure enough, I got on the highway, and I saw the lights starting to flicker. I slowed down, and I was going about 20 miles an hour, and I saw this big moose right in front of me. I'd have run right into that moose if that fellow hadn't told me that. Anyway, I bought the property, signed the papers that night in Big Lake with Abe Lincoln. And I was told at the time about the right-of-way. And it was shortly after that I went down to the Wasilla Public Works Department and asked about the right-of-way there. And they said, well, yeah, the right-of-way's there. It's, if you can, I would get a surveyor and make sure you got it correct, and you're not cutting down any trees that shouldn't be cut down, that are not in the right-of-way. He said, yeah, you can clear that if you want to. It was a fellow in the Public Works Department. And that could be confirmed by, I signed in and everything. You want to go back to 1989, that was 89 or 1990 when that happened. And then about a year ago, I talked to the lady who is just to the east, has the property. And she seemed to think that we had no rights to develop that property or do anything or cut down any trees or not. And she had talked to somebody down here and said, I'm sure I'm right. And so that's when I met Roy. And I thought, this doesn't add up. It smells wrong and everything. And because I'd like to be able to carry a little boat or canoe down there and get in the boat and fish a little bit and carry it out. I don't need to have a big wide hamburger stand there and a big parking lot or anything like that. Be great for kids and so forth. And so I was told one thing, and I think it was right, but there's people that just don't want to be encroached on, and they want to use the property their way and without paying for it.
Yep.
And so I don't
Do
think
you
that,
remember do you have anything in your documentation that referred to that?
referred to what?
That right away?
Well, yeah,
No, I understand that it's in the deal. I'm just wondering if they brought that and put it in writing for you from Mr. Honest Abe.
oh, no, they told me that there was a
Okay.
right of way, and
Okay.
I saw that there was a right of way, and it's a public right of way.
That's all you need.
Yeah,
Should be all you need.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
Okay.
thank you for taking the time to come to us.
Thank you.
Anybody else have comments?
I'm Sue Grant. Could I cede my time to Rory to talk for 3 more minutes?
Oh, she wants to give her
Could I
time
cede
to
my time?
Rory.
Is that possible or no?
I think it's worth talking about, so that's fine.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Just to recap, these are my neighbors, and Sue's my grandmother. And it's a wonderful community. It really is. It's a cool spot, but I just think that we should take time and just defend public land, you know? I mean, there is a pathway for Wasilla to sell this land, and that's my greatest fear, right? It's not that big of a lot. It's been platted there since 1960. Every owner who's bought that plot of land has known that they're buying into an easement. Every single owner since 1960, they put their septic tank or their standpipes in the easement. That is unforgivable behavior. And we're not in the punishing era, okay? We don't need to go after these people. But I think that there's a difference in, this Lake Lucille Park that you were talking about. I find that to be fantastic. I think that's the right move for this community. I really do. I think that we need to, do what we're known for in the outdoors and connect these things. Cottonwood Creek Trail, this bridge impacted my ability to go through, but I'm waiting for it. I used it all the time. It was fantastic. And this will be a connection to it. And in their study, this council, the Parks Council, they said that partially the reason why would be the fish habitat, and I agree. There's something to be said about that, but I don't think that there's anything wrong about reaching out to ADF&G and saying, hey, because I see sockeye in there all the time. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. But, I don't know quite the next steps, and I could use a lot of advocacy here. I could use a lot of voices, a lot of standings, and say, hey, listen, we don't have to build a condominium here, but it's been platted since 1960 as an access, and I don't know what they were planning for in 1960 to continue on
They
Peck
were
Street.
thinking ahead.
Right. So I'm glad they did that. And the way that I look at it is they were doing us a favor. And, so we can either continue to let this person who does not vote in the city of Wasilla, they have no rights here at all. They don't. They're somebody who's beholden by the borough, period. That's where our border ends. So take ownership of this land, permanently designate it as non-sellable land, right? I don't know the processes for that, but as it stands, Wasilla could do it if they got pushed hard enough. And the homeowners have told me that that's their plan. They said that we're going to advocate to try to sell this land, yada, yada, yada. And that's what really got me into this, where I started asking these guys to come to these. So if I can ask one thing, it's just advocacy. If I could really get a helping hand in talking about this, and maybe go down there, go visit, go knock on some doors, just walk down that path, and you'll see how contentious it is. So, the police not enforcing a trespassing, if they ever get called down there, is a really good step. Thank you for that, Eric. I appreciate that. And, just some advocacy. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Again, just to reiterate, the commission is here for you to hear your voices. We can bring it forward to the council, but that's about as far as we can go. Your need is beyond us, but I see it as it's a no-brainer to me. I mean, that's why they put it in there in the first place. I agree that maybe there's some talk about whether or not they can sell it, whether or not they can, I don't have any clue on that. But we can let council know that and let you, and so that I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Again, thanks. Meeting dates?
Unfinished business.
No, unfinished business. Yeah.
I'd like to, make a motion, we enter committee of the whole.
Sorry, say it again.
I'd like to make a motion, we enter committee of the whole.
Second. Sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So, just my 2 cents, this may be going nowhere, but if there's a little tiny right-of-way area, can it not be changed to parkland?
I don't see why not.
Please, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, through the chairman. So, it could definitely be resurveyed, so there'd be some cost in that. I think, I don't think, I know Mr. Grant has been fearful that the neighbors might wage a campaign to get the council to subdivide it into an actual parcel and then sell it. That's a lot of work. And so I wonder if it would be more expedient for, if the Parks and Recreation Committee wants to support this, you could come up with a resolution at some future meeting where you tell the council that you want them to acknowledge that this is public access, and you kind of limit what you want it to be. And then nothing has to change right now in the way it's managed. It's right of way. The homeowners, unfortunately, have a bunch of setback issues, and they've kind of tried to deal with it with my predecessor a bit. There were some, they had to plant some trees because they cut some trees down that they shouldn't have. And so I think what I'd be looking for guiding on this project is, the Parks and Rec Commission saying this is what our vision is for it. And then if the city were to expend any time or expense, then we'd want to have that supported by the council. So if it became a trail that we would improve in some way and then maintain, and then if some future day there was a dock that made it easy to get a kayak in and out, we would just want to have it be quantified as a access point that the council wants us to spend money on.
Aren't we, it sounds like we're doing over again what was done originally.
It's platted as a right-of-way. It's never been developed as a road. And so, in my mind, until it's been identified as a right-of-way that we don't want a road on, but we want to keep it as pedestrian access to the lake, it's in this nebulous, there has been no final layout of what the decision makers want. So right now, it's not at risk of becoming a new parcel because the time and expense to do that would bring more review. I, as the Public Works Director, couldn't sell it without going to the council, and the council would have to say, well, we want you to sell it, and yeah, it's okay if you spend money on a surveyor and then go and put it out and sell it. So there's a lot of work that would have to happen to make that take place. But it's not to say that the council couldn't decide to do that. I would advocate against that if the council asked me, but if Parks and Rec Committee said, we want this section to be acknowledged as a pedestrian access to the lake, and we think it makes sense to do some level of improvement or nothing, or let the neighborhood have the level of improvement. I know that I'm going to be in a meeting with the neighbor at some point where they're like, that's not fair, and I have to say, this is what, it's the right of way, and this is what the commission said, and this is the council agreed, because they've talked about it, and they made a weighing on it, and we're going to have this relationship, if you will.
When this ordinance went in to have a right of way, wasn't it
probably
surveyed?
Yes, there's no question about it existing. It's a legal right of way. So there's nothing stopping the neighbors from going down there. They don't want to be yelled at. They don't want the risk of the neighbors erroneously calling the police and saying they're trespassing. The police officers are not right-of-way experts, so they don't know what to do. And so I think it makes sense to have kind of a finding, if you will, that says, this is what Parks and Rec thinks, and this is what the council has either weighed in on or decided, nah, we like what they, because you could go to the council and you could say, Parks and Rec Commission wants to say that this is a trail, and we want you to agree that the community, the neighbors on both sides, don't have any standing to claim that it's not accessible to the public. And then we leave it at that. And then if there's kind of a dust up about that with the neighbors, then we point back and say, it's been discussed and it's been agreed upon and we're done talking about this. Or if there's a bigger plan where there's some sort of future improvement, it really helps me and Jess with the funding and the projects to say, this was identified as what we want to do. It's been talked about probably 10, 15 years ago, and I think the temperature at the time was, let's just not, let's not overturn the apple cart. And so it's back up again because there wasn't kind of a final decision on what people wanted to see there. So
Just for information, I've sat on this board since 2000. This is the first time I've ever heard about it.
I have documents where Mr. Archie Giddings had to meet with these homeowners and say, you didn't have permission to do the improvements you thought you were doing on your property. No, you're incorrect about it being an easement. It's a right of way. It's never been your property. Yes, your driveway is way too close to the property line. And this is kind of an outgrowth of the separation between how the borough permits things and how the city permits things. Because they don't have to come and get any permit from the city, yet they're encroaching on our right of way. So that's why this has
Okay.
happened.
Well, yes, Scott.
Through the chair. Another way maybe for you guys to consider in a strategy is, because of these complexities, perhaps see where the planning commission brings the information together so that you can support it because you understand the whole picture, not necessarily just the fragments or what may or may not be, because we may have ordinances, there may be something that added to it, deleted to it, and who knows, again, if it's not on paper, that doesn't do anybody any good. So kind of finding that balance, when you're ready to put your name on it, maybe it's something that comes from the planning commission that they've kind of vetted we're not easement experts, we're not property stuff, so just something to consider.
It isn't written, it isn't done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that one. Can we reach out to planning department and have someone from their organization give us a better understanding of what we're looking at? And via email, whatever, just getting it to us, please. Okay, thank you all for that.
Committee of the whole.
Okay,
So I'm just saying, if there's any other comments,
do we have any other well, it's
what,
just,
between us.
do we have any other, okay. No.
I make a motion we exit committee of the whole.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving forward. Matsu softball. Man of the hour.
Yes. Dan said he got hung up on.
Yeah, he texted me and he's back on, but for some reason, I don't know why he can't talk.
It's fine by me.
Where's our tech support?
Would this be a different subject? This is.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about Matsu Softball Association.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Great job you're doing for all of us here in Wasilla.
We try.
I do appreciate it. You're doing the best you can. We all did. Being a veteran, I did.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your service.
It's my fault for these things because I was working on fully computerized anti-submarine warfare aircraft in 1975. Bill Gates was in his garage outside the gate of the base.
Thanks again for your service. All right, sir.
My name is Adam Imparato. I'm the director of Matsu softball, also a player, umpire, manager, and I'm the commissioner for USA Softball Matsu. And I'm here to talk to you guys about the ball field expansion. As you can see, we have a drawing from, I can't remember their name. The same people that did your park across the street. Corvus, that's what it is. So here go the drawings they gave me. I believe some of you saw these last meeting. So our big thing is to get this, to make Bumpus our version of Anchorage's Cartier. So we can have more tournaments out here, more users. So we would like to add 2 new turf fields out in that area, that little forest back there, with a walking trail around it. New dugouts, a central building, which will be scorekeeping, concessions, utilities, and another umpire room, because the one we have now is tiny. We have like 11 umpires, not much room to change. Enhanced parking and pedestrian access. We really need the parking, especially when they're doing soccer or cross country across the street from us. We had a cross country meet the same day we had a state slow pitch tournament. Our parking lot was full. The area, the gravel pit the Steelers tried to use was full. So we need extra parking and better pedestrian access. We're gonna also looking for a walking trail that goes around with possible disc golf. Figure that way we use more than just softball. And also parents take their kids out there. Kind of like the path that's over behind the Menard. Same idea. And then we want a playground. That is the number one thing I've been asked for by parents, is why isn't there a playground? Why, I mean, we have a big pile of dirt, the kids playing that all the time, but they want a playground. Hopefully it's accessible to everybody. As I said, we're looking to build a 240 space parking lot with overflow parking and possibly RV spots for when we have tournaments. We do have plenty of tournaments here. We had, if you count fast pitch, the one first fast pitch we've had in many years, we had 4 tournaments this year. And we ended up with RVs in our parking lot, RVs over on the other side, take up area. So if we could get the overflow parking lot, which is on that, get some RV, and maybe even have a lottery for power for when we're having those big tournaments. A paved walkway that goes around that will be accessible to everybody. And also French drain system for the fields, which I know you guys work on drainage right now at the fields. I see it every day, but I know these new fields are going to need it too. All right. And then along the walkway, which if you see here, we are looking to get trees that are in between fields 2 and 3, going up to the new fields 5 and 6, plus along the walkway that has that goes to the playground, which is in the middle right there. So we're looking to have trees put in, make it look pretty. I've been to, over the past couple of years umpiring, I've been to parks down lower 48, and they all have trees that make it look pretty, and it's really nice, and also a shady area for the kids. This is a picture of our first fast pitch tournament in, I was thinking 15, 20 years. We borrowed some equipment from Anchorage Sports to have the pitcher plate put in. We made our own temporary fences so we could do more. And if we can have more tournaments. I was talking to the commissioner for USA Softball today. The contract for high school state is coming up in 2026 or 2027. Usually it goes in between Fairbanks and Anchorage. I would like to get us into that rotation. Bring more families here, have more of a fast pitch tournament. I know it's been, I was reading articles that there's fast pitch in the early 2000s. I would like to have that happen again. I would like to bring the regions out here. the high school regions. And I know I've already talked to Colony High School about having their Rally in the Valley out here. Right now it's split between behind Colony, behind the Borough building, and behind Sherrod. And as an umpire, having to full gear, run my car, drive somewhere else, it's kind of a pain. And it will build more of a sense of community for the players if they're all together at Bumpus, as opposed to having to run, like, there were teams that didn't even get to see their friends this past summer at the Rally in the Valley. And like I said, we can have state here, we can bring a Junior Olympics or comp state here too. I've planted that seed already. I planted a seed about high school state. And it would actually bring money in. We have that new hotel going in by Sportsman's. I don't think it's quite done. I think it just started, right? That new one? Yeah. So maybe in a couple of years when this field is up and running, we will be able to have them stay there. I know right now the schools are staying at different churches, and the high school teams are staying at different churches and schools. We have the final design was given to us. We haven't made any changes on it recently. From what this came to us in June. And I think it looks great. I'm excited for the playground. I know playing parents, I posted this up with Bumpus. The day Dan and I were here talking about to you guys first time about this. And the first thing the parents pointed out was the playground. They're excited for that. I guess I just need you guys to back the idea. It's what I've been told. But I'm excited for it. And I know a lot of the other people are too, especially them being turf, because our fields right now don't drain very well, because I don't think it's the right kind of dirt in them. It's more topsoil and clay than it is infield dirt. So it just makes big puddles. And that's part of the reason why we haven't had the Rally and Valley there, because we can't guarantee that the field will be ready for it. So turf fields will be ready for it sooner.
So, let me ask you this. What are you looking for? Just a nod from the commission?
I was told that I have to have two commissioners bring this up to the borough or the council. That's what Dan told me a couple days ago, so I'm not sure if that was correct, but
Okay, I'm not sure either.
but we would like to, yes, have your guys' backing to get this done.
Okay, so where's the have you got funding?
Not yet. That was part of it was supposed to be
You
part of
need
the-
us
Yes.
before you get that.
Yes.
Do we need to make a motion to support?
I think if all goes well, if you can build it, they will come, right?
I can tell you right now, we had 53 teams, and I had to turn around, I had to tell 5 NFL spots. We had to have teams that were playing for us for years couldn't come back because they got cut off. There was enough room. We had 12 teams Mondays, which is going to expand to 16 next year. 18 teams on Tuesdays, 16 teams on Wednesdays, and 11 teams on Thursdays. And nobody wants to play on Fridays, so we're busting out our seams right now. We need more places for them to play.
Well, let me ask, do we have, what's your feelings on this? You got questions?
I don't so much have questions. I did go through the book. You should have one of these somewhere. Anyways, it is very detailed, but it breaks down to, expenses of each section and,
Yes.
and where it all falls. I think it's a great project. I don't know how the funding process works for this versus other things, because I know in the past with some different projects that were done, people had to basically raise a certain amount and then they'd get matching funds from different organizations. But that's kind of a starting point. Personally, I would like to see it developed. I've heard that there's a lot of demand, and it's a very positive thing. So people need to get out and play sports.
Yes.
And as an adult, it's not just kids; it's everyone.
Yes.
So I'm for it.
I know I've been talking, Colony High School just put in a new field for the baseball field. And I talked to them about how they fundraise. And one of their ideas was we sell bricks for the walkways. Like you donate, say, 2,500, you get your name on the brick and I'll be there forever. You donate this, we could maybe field names, do that too. There's plenty of stuff, there's grants I've been looking at.
And you, as far as the land, we have enough land up there, I mean, no, we started with one,
Yes.
okay? And I remember how much trouble Pete and the crew had to go through to get that accomplished. So your feeling is that you have enough support, enough activity to do these.
Yes.
It would be my position to be in favor of it.
I know the American Legion has asked us a few times to use Bumpus for baseball. I don't know if it's quite set up for it, but it would be another multi-use thing we can do.
Well, I know that Pete didn't think too much of softball players coming onto his baseball field. So,
Yeah, I just mirror what they say. I think a lot of time and effort and thought has been put into it, especially just considering how much you guys have considered the opportunity for multiple use, which I
Yes.
think is awesome. So if we can go, I'm in support as well. I think it looks like an awesome project, and clearly you guys need the space. So
Yes.
I think and just considering like connecting with the wider community, with the high schools and everything like that, I think that's an awesome step
Yes,
forward.
they are excited. If we can have their tournament at Bumpus, they are very excited about it. Like I said, we had our first, it was U10, U12, U16 tournament a couple weeks ago, and that was great. The girls loved it, the fact that they could talk to the other teams and everything. So getting high school there would be awesome too.
well, I think we need to make sure our roadway is firm.
Yes.
Give him our position.
Yeah, and talking with Eric briefly, I think with what is in the packet, what I think we can do, work through the clerk's office to have a resolution of support, include that, which then at least can get it to the council to start,
In a
if they
timely
want to move
fashion.
on it earlier,
Then
or again,
later.
if there's steps to be taken, or again, is it as it works through the CIP budgeting cycle, because I think we start again in January already. So it could line up resolution from here, supporting that, and then it can get to council, and that can create the
Do
action.
you have anything in motion to meet with the council or any other body?
We sat in with the council once and discussed it, but not very much.
Okay.
So if I can get on the agenda for the council, I'll be glad to do that.
If we, I need a motion for a resolution.
I'd like to make a motion, the commission forms a resolution in support of the new ball fields and improvements for Bumpus softball.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that'll get that started. I would really recommend that the multi-use baseball, softball should be addressed in your first, because that's an important process too.
Yeah.
Because I know that the high schools we're getting more kids that are getting into high school playing ball, and we're gonna run out of room for them too.
Yeah, right now, 2 of the fields are set up for fast pitch. It's 10 feet shorter than slow pitch, because we just had a tournament there, and now I believe both of the comp teams we have out here are practicing there almost every day. One of them is there right now, I keep getting notifications, somebody's at the field. So I set it up for 2 to be fast pitch, so we can see how it works and see how it looks next spring when we can start using the fields.
Okay.
As for baseball, I'm not quite sure we'd have to wait to get the turf to do baseball, because we're at the edge of the grass at 70 feet and they're 90. So they're going to be, their infield would end in the grass. So we'd have to.
You don't wanna do that.
Yeah.
Okay, Tammy's got your information,
Yes.
okay, and we can get a resolution going and have it if we need to come over and sign off on it, that'd be good. Got anything else, Scott?
Okay, it would need to come to the commission as a whole, as something to sign off, and 2 meetings for that on a resolution?
No, it's just
One
one, but
meeting.
you'll want the document to sign it, so it needs to be written up before it's totally complete.
Well, our next meeting is scheduled for 2 months from now, so what I'm trying to think of is a way to get this,
I don't think that'll impact the schedule. At your regular next meeting is plenty of time to get in front of the council for consideration.
okay? Sooner than later, right?
Right. Especially for the parking.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Good luck,
Thank you.
or good fundraising, whatever that.
Oh yeah, that's always fun.
Okay. Our next is Parks and Rec 2026 meeting dates.
Twenty 26.
Yeah. Any comments, any questions?
I make a motion that we accept the proposed meeting dates for 2026.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Jeez, I'm gonna be missing a bunch. I miss 3 next year. Okay. Fiscal year 2026 budget information. Thank you, sir.
Scott Bell, Recreational Services Director through the chairman. So what I just gave you is one part, so want to bring forward to you the recreational services budget that was recently approved. It's effective July 1. And so this is the breakdown for the Recreation Services Department, specifically the recreation program side, which includes our cleanup days, the Passport, Music in the Park series, the parade, the picnic, Halloween. We're going to do a holiday tree lighting and the New Year's Eve fireworks show. So just want to make sure you guys all knew what the support the council has given us and to continue our programming for that side of the, I guess, the ledger. And then additionally, just a recap of the CIP that was approved. So through, for FY '26, they approved a Parks and Trails Master Plan update for $200,000. There is a fire mitigation program for the city for dead spruce at $250,000. There is $100,000 for Wonderland Playground replacement repair combo. The Bumpus Ball Fields, there is a paving plan for $300,000 that's been approved. Lake Lucille parking paving for $150,000 was approved. And there's an overall $75,000 for all park improvement, I think, so that Jesse can do some of his work. And then Nunley Park, Eric's gonna address here next, so just wanna let you know, right now,
It's over $1 million.
over $1 million invested for the CIP projects for the parks for this year. So that's just an update on the budget. Any questions?
Thank you, Scott.
Yep.
Eric, did you wanna jump
Sure.
in?
So before we move off the budget, I'll just give you an update because we're talking about Bumpus. So currently, we are installing the drainage, the first of the drainage projects to help with the softball fields, spring drainage, and helping the fields dry out sooner, and dealing with heavy rains during the middle of summer, which has canceled several games this year. So the contractor's out there installing under drains and doing some general grading so that when the ground's frozen, it migrates off the fields. We're also installing the septic tanks at both the new bathrooms for the softball complex and the soccer complex. And the bathrooms themselves are a modular pre-built system called CX. What is it? CXT? Yeah, CXT bathrooms. They are shipping from down south this week. They'll arrive up here in a couple weeks. And so we're anticipating installing them in the middle of October. So they'll be coming online this fall. We probably won't have them open to the public because use will have dropped off. We're still working with the power company to get the electrical services in there, so they'll be ready to go bright, fresh, and new next spring. And then the paving, we need to fall back and do some design for that to make sure it fits with the master plan, so that we aren't undoing something in the next few years as the master plan comes together. So we'll be working on the contract and design for the paving for the Bumpus, for the existing Bumpus ball field parking lot over the winter.
Okay. Thank you.
And now, if you're willing, we can move on to the Nunley Park discussion. So I included a memo where I took the liberty of outlining what we need to talk about tonight. So are there any questions on the memo? Love to enter in committee of the whole and hear what you would like to discuss about this. But so I guess if you wouldn't mind making a motion for that, then I'll continue.
I'll make a motion that we enter committee as a whole.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. So I'll just give you a recap of how we got here and where we're going. So as Jess mentioned, playground safety is very important. It's important that we have certified inspectors. We have a long history of having inspections done. And the playground at Nunley has started showing its age. Pieces have blown off, pieces come loose. We get notices that things aren't safe. And so Jess's crew responds to that. Those facilities were reused. Some of them are reused, some of them were new 10 years ago, but they're all at the end of their useful life, and they're becoming a liability, and they're not meeting the public's need for safe and fun play areas. So the plan had been to just kind of replace in kind. Jess was doing some excellent legwork with suppliers, trying to work out the best deal to get new equipment up here and replace it and just keep moving. And then parallel, there had been some desire from council members to improve the general feel of the park. The wooded strip that was there started to attract folks that were hanging around and leaving trash and needles and just doing very concerning things. And as you may know from the survey and just from your use of the park, that tends to be our little kid park where families bring their toddlers or their kindergartners, and they come to play. And so you can imagine how disconcerting it is to have homelessness and needles and other scary things there. So part of the project earlier on was to remove some of the trees, and then a decision was made by the mayor to remove all the trees. And so that really unintentionally started a firestorm with the council about that change to the park. So the trees were cut down, we chipped up the stumps, and now we have blank slate, if you will. But it also came with an edict from the council that we wouldn't do any new improvements at the park until a more robust and organized planning process happened. And so the commitment was made to the council that we would pull in a landscape designer and come up with a plan and share it with the public and bring it to the Parks and Rec Commission, of course, to make sure that everyone's voices are heard and that there is a understandable, well publicized plan going forward. So we pushed pause on the small things we were planning to do, brought in Corvus to help us come up with a preliminary plan that would garner a lot of attention, and that's what we were seeking. So the plan was to be bold. The plan was to have things that we knew people would love, and maybe some lightning rod components that people would speak out either for or against, because we want engagement. So we presented that to, where did we present that? I brought it to the council to show them what we're working on, and then made the commitment that it would be brought to the public over the month of July. So we had it ready to go with signs posted at the park and around other parks, so that as tens of thousands of people came into the city of Wasilla for our 4th of July parade, they would see that. And that worked very, very well. So we had a online survey through a QR code and links, and we received more than 250 comments. And so if you think about like our voter turnout, that's a ton of people. And so what you have in front of you is a distillation of what those comments said. So we have 5 or 6 pages with information about 55% of the users use the restrooms, so that's going to be high priority, of course, with whatever we do. There's a good use of the community gardens. We are always oversold on those, so there's a waiting list, so they're very popular. And one of the projects we were working on was expanding that, because we knew that there was enough community interest. So that's been put on hold, but just has started building some of the new boxes. Overwhelming use of the playground, 87% of the people there are there for that. The open space where the tennis courts used to be still gets 61% of the use. The memorial trees are a little less used, but still important. The gazebo is very important. And then the caboose is one of those lightning rods. Do you want it or do you not want it anymore? So then some of the other respondents talked about how often they use the park. That was one of the questions I had. Let's quantify how often people are going. Many people go during the summer, a little less through the rest of the year, but it's still important even in the winter. And some of the comments were, hey, make something fun for us to do in the winter over there. Maybe we'd go more often if there was a winter activity. The next on this colorful page, we're looking at age ranges, and you can see that it's way more than 100% because families have multiple age ranges in them. And so extremely popular with the 3 to 5 year olds, very popular with the 6 to 12-year-olds, as well as the 0 to 2. And then it starts to kind of fall off because its current state is not really for the teenagers, and we don't have the amenities like the skate park and the ninja course and that sort of stuff. So that's kind of why it has been popularized as the younger kid park. And that's the response that we've had from the community is we like it that way. We don't want big kids, over there. Let's keep it the kid park. And while we were actually doing the site visit with the architects, we had a grandma stop us that said, whatever you do, just make it so I can sit in my car and watch my grandkids. And I think that's a very valid use case. Absolutely. You got some 5, 6-year-old kids and grandma wants to sit in the car because it's kind of windy, but they want to run around, then we should take that to heart. Yep. On the next page, you have kind of more detail on survey question 1, some pictures included and stuff. How people are using it. We are very, very lacking on accessibility. I would not call that an inclusive park. And we know that that's a very important aspect of parks. It needs to be inclusive and accessible. So that in my mind, is a very high priority for whatever the new park looks like, and that it should be incorporated. It continues on to page 13 of your packet. Talks about picnic gathering spots, new activities, preserving the familiar. We move on to survey question 2. What do you want to see? And they talk about expanded and upgraded playgrounds, that sort of thing. And then more pictures included of the current facility. And then what I want to draw your attention to is page 16 of your packet, which is that initial map that Corvus put together for us. And when I'm done talking, which will be in a second, I would love to hear from Parks and Rec Commission your top priorities that you came away with after reading their input and having your own personal input, and where you think things should be, dropped. And so one of the aspects of this initial plan, which has been polarizing, is the idea of a new amphitheater. And so one of the comments I heard from a council member was, we have an amphitheater at the library that no one uses. Why would we do that again? Or are we going to create a vagrancy issue on our own? And so, if tonight's discussion was totally don't support the amphitheater, get rid of it, I'd love to hear that, or love it, or want to keep it in, whatever direction you want to provide is very valuable to us. And then also the caboose is very important to decide. What does the body want to say about the value of the caboose? And with that caveat, if the body wants to keep it, then it needs to have the support to make it safe, because it's an attractive nuisance right now. It has both physical issues with fall protection, kids getting on the very top of it. There's a hand wheel on it that squeaks like crazy and drives businesses mad next door. So it's not impossible to make it safe and a productive part of the park, but it will take time and resources, and it'll be a very detailed project. So it shouldn't be underestimated how much time, effort, and cost will be a part of it. And so that just needs to be known going into it. I personally would like to, if it is decided to stay, we need to turn it sideways, because it's a real impediment to the full use of the park. And I think it would make sense to move it in a location at some point that works better with the connectivity. One of the other aspects I just want to bring to attention on this initial layout is people should be drawn into the park because of its value, its beauty, its quietness. No one wants to walk next to the road, and I think it makes sense to have pathways, pedestrian pathways, that draw you in from all four quadrants. You go into the park and you cross, and you end up at the other side of the neighborhood. So you see a large amount of really nice pathways to try to piece out where people are trying to go. That's how Idita Park works. Lots of people start on the corner of Nelson and Weber and end up at Lucille. So they've crossed a huge divide internally in the park, and they are not walking along the road because that's not an enjoyable experience. And I think this park could do the same thing. So you see an elongated parking area with paving and defined parking spaces, so it's more efficient. You see a proposed playground area, but that, through our survey, didn't meet their need. They felt that was not enough space. They wanted to see several play areas that were kind of age specific, because even between the toddlers and the kindergartners, toddler parents wanted to have a confined space where they could sit and know that their kid is at age appropriate equipment and not going to get run over by a 10-year-old kid. And so you kind of have these segments, if you will, that meet their desire. Moving the pavilion closer so it has a birthday effect. And then also heard lots of comments about how difficult it is to get a toddler or a young child to the bathroom when it's so far away. So I'd like to see that co-located, easy bathroom location, birthday party, pavilion, just not be quite so spread out, as there's pretty consistent use case. And then because of one of the initial reasons to start this project was a more public garden. You see it in a large public garden area with beds that are aligned nicely, have the right spacing so that Jess and his crew can get in there and do the maintenance they want to, so that they can keep it nice. There's discussions of fruit trees and food forests, and then that brings in, some fencing to keep the moose from eating those nice, expensive plantings. And then you see an expanded parking lot close to the only privately owned section of this whole block, which is across from the parking lot up here, that is useful for just adding more capacity for parking, and it's useful for city function because that has been our snow storage area, and it's pretty valuable for us to have that overflow snow storage area. And then this lot does have another parking lot on the other side that has pretty much remained the same because of its use case, but the bathrooms are situated on a hill, and so we need to talk about ADA connections. So I'll stop talking. I'd love to hear what your review of the documents are and your use, and love for some feedback so that we can show the council that you've had the opportunity to look at everything, talk to your constituents, and do the thinking.
So in reference to the restrooms, would there be 2 restrooms there
Could be.
or 1?
Could
Well,
be. If you
one of
want
the-
2, we could do 2 or
One of
not.
the reasons that there was restroom was located where it was is because the kids covered was using that, so you had to have a restroom nearby. And when my kids were tots, I went to this park because it's the tot lot. It was the tot lot. And so you didn't have to be concerned about some things that were happening elsewhere. But that said, you know, to have openings every which way, and, you know, I could be the person sitting in the car, but you have to know that your kids are safe and they're not gonna be able to walk right out into the street. So how do you prevent that if somebody wants to stay in their car while their kids are out playing?
Yeah, you'd have the fence. So right now, the trees kind of served as a buffer. The kids didn't want to go into the trees, and you've got 3 sides of a fence. So you would have, you'd have a gate, and it would be, you know, it'd slow them down. If you've got a spider monkey for a kid, the kid's gonna go over the fence. You're still gonna have to respond to that. But yeah, you have some impediments to slow that tot down before they get too far.
But so
If you don't mind me interrupting just a minute. And one of the key things, like when you go through and you do the inspections and stuff, one of the most valuable things is supervision. I mean, that is something that they jam down your throat the whole entire time, is that you need to supervise. You can have all the signage for it and everything, but without the supervision, I mean, if a kid climbs over a 4-foot fence and gets a 30-foot run on you, I would have to feel like supervision was lacking. And that's one of the big key values that I keep running into all the time with all the classes and the different things. And it's one of our hard parts, because like a playground area, the teacher goes out with the children, watches over them, and brings them back in. This here's open, and it's the parents and whoever goes with that child's responsibility to maintain and follow the rules that are there. And on every one of our boards, it states supervision. And so that's something that, you know, we can't provide, that being a public park.
I was just going to mention, in regards to an amphitheater, there is 2 amphitheaters now. So there's the one at Idita Park and the one at the library. So I'm not sure what their usage is. I know that music in the park is used for certain months, but otherwise I'm not sure it gets used.
Yeah, I think music in the park's really the only time the amphitheater at Idita Park's used. So the reason the amphitheater was there is because of that grade change. So an alternative suggestion from the comments was more of a sledding arrangement. And we know from the sledding hill at Idita Park, you know, that helped to have lights. And so there's kind of a standard for what makes it useful and what makes it safe. So if an amphitheater doesn't seem to make sense, or if there's no desire to replicate the music in the park here or move it, or whatever vision there is for kind of organized uses, there still is that grade change, and so there may be another valuable amenity there.
So if it didn't go in right away, but at some point someone wanted it, it could be, you know, put in later.
Yeah,
as long
absolutely.
as there wasn't some expensive cement structure that went in place.
Yeah, well, we don't like to undo things that we did, but if we cordon off an area and say this could be the future amphitheater, or whatever the future amenity is, that's fine. We would like to, and that's where this planning comes in place. This is very inexpensive, and it leads you down a phased approach. The council, you know, if we didn't change anything on this plan, took it to the council, they'd be very blown away by the cost. I think a phased approach is going to have to happen, and so then that means the decision makers need to say what is top tier, second, third, fourth, that sort of thing. But if you get to 4 out of the 5, that's still a great park, and you still figured out the general placing of where it's going to be. There's certain things that won't change. This side's going to be higher than that side. ADA has ramp requirements, so we have boundaries on all 4 sides, and so, you know, we want to put the trails in a reasonable spot so that if we're not quite done and we need to phase it, we have those general uses figured out before we start.
One of the things that keep reaching out to me is, I know when we first had access to the caboose, we had all this envisioned coffee shop, hot chocolate shop, all the rest of
Story
it.
time.
And then we found that all of a sudden that's not a valid process. Because we got asbestos, or we got this, or we got that. The paint was, what are our options?
you want to talk about that, Jess?
What are our options, like trying to save it options, or
here.
or moving it like down towards the train depot so that it becomes a landmark where the children can't get to it and get hurt on it? Because trying
That's
to create a
probably a-
safety thing out of where it is now
That's probably
is gonna be
the most
very expensive. and
logical
very- process.
Moving it.
Personally, moving it.
Yeah. So if we think about its existence, right? It's a vehicle that was a train. So kids weren't allowed on it on the train tracks, right? You're breaking the law to be on the caboose. And then it was it the early '80s? It was part of the McDonald's draw. They want to have birthday parties there or something like that. It doesn't have any Wasilla train history. It was just brought up as a hallmark. There's another caboose on West Fairview Loop actually, but so you're taking a working piece of equipment that doesn't have any safety concerns to it for the public, sticking it in a public place, and now you've created a public nuisance, an attractive nuisance. And then kids are doing crazy things like climbing to the very top and standing on it. And so it's an extreme liability for the city. And we don't want to get sued, and we don't want anyone to get hurt. And so you have to make this decision. Do you put a ton of time and energy in? And I guess I'll speak for Jess for a minute. If I were to say, Jess, go take your crew and make it safe, that's thousands of hours of thoughtful planning, looking at all the angles, taking it apart basically, and it won't look the same because the handrails aren't ADA. You won't be able to see the regular train track wheels because we'll have to build a platform all around it. There'll have to be all these exclusions so you can't get on the roof. We'll have to pay an asbestos abatement company. We'll have to take all the paint off because it's lead. So you're really just dissecting the whole thing. And what do you end up with?
Nothing.
You definitely end up with something drastically different than the old thoughts of what it used to be because of the world we live in today with liability and just our understanding of what it is. One of the nods we made in this plan was to say, well, why don't we just get a train play area? Why don't we make the train feature still part of the park, but we go with something that's purpose-made for what the park has become, the toddler park. Toddlers are still going to love a train play area, but that's where the decision has to be made. Are we willing to divest ourselves of what used to be known as the caboose park, or is it so ingrained that we need to put the time and energy in? And so I don't want to do that to Jess and say you have to come up with an internal design to fix this, and then if we put it to the market
It doesn't
and
work.
get contractors to do it, that can happen. There's extremely capable, creative, amazing contractors. It will be prohibitively expensive. And then if we go down that path, which we can do, I'm not saying don't, but just eyes wide open to the process, we're going to get a cost. And then I'm worried about whiplash from saying, wait a minute, all we really want is X, Y, Z. Why are we putting all this time and energy into this interesting but unimportant landmark, if you will?
So if I can say, way back when this commission was tasked with coming up with a theme for Wasilla, because we had none. So the only thing that was here was the train. Literally the only thing. That's where it used to be. That was the only spot. That was what went through Wasilla. Having two lakes, you're limited to what you can do. It was the train. So a former mayor, after this discussion, decided just to go get a caboose. This body did not choose, because literally the conversations were, during the holiday celebrations, it could be the hot chocolate train, it could be this, it could be that, it could be story time, it could be all kinds of things. That wasn't what it was. So what got dumped in our laps was not what we're looking for. Speaking for myself. We. So at some point, somebody has to rip the Band-Aid off and make the decision, because the money that could be used for that, and not that I am a train buff, but the money that could be used for that could finish quite a bit of the park. If there were amenities added that looked like trains, that would be great. But like I said, it wasn't what the commission was looking for. And what do you do?
I don't know, I read what everybody put in there of what they want. They want a playground where they can have family time. They want a place where they can go have a picnic and they can sit underneath and just enjoy their time in the space. And having a caboose in there, the danger aspect of it and all the rest of that, I, from the very beginning, have been like, that should have never been put in there. Unfortunately, we're not there. But for the sake of the children and all that, I think if you took the money that you save by not fixing that and putting it all into that, we could get so much further ahead in the park where people, I mean, a couple years from now, it's not gonna be a thing anymore because they're gonna be so impressed with how amazing it does look with all the trails and all the things and the amenities that we wanna put in there instead. You know, a new bathroom, all that makes more sense to me than the train. Sorry.
Yeah, I think the safety issue alone is enough to say that the train should probably go. Not
mean,
to ride
I
over.
remember the locomotive down on 9th Avenue, so, I mean, I climbed all over that thing. So I understand. I just think that it was a great thought. I think we kind of jumped a leap of faith that didn't have a bottom. And I think that we, put it over there by the train station, because those are people that haven't seen some of those old train processes. The one that they have downtown in Anchorage is pretty cool. The one that's up on the deal that nobody can get to, it's a good idea. Because you take that safety liability out of the equation.
I think you're gonna have a lot less kids on it in general and where it's placed as you drive by, when they go by with the other train and stuff. I think it creates a landmark that's gonna be memorable for everybody that's
Oh,
never
did you
been.
see the, yeah,
Versus over here where it's just, it's a danger to
everybody.
all of our kids and stuff, it's like my kids, I don't let them go play on that, so why do I wanna let anybody else's?
Yep. I go along with that one. So if it was up to me, I would move it and put it to a better spot that is less costly to maintain and work on the park.
So it sounds pretty unanimous from the commissioners that,
Like I said, it wasn't what the commission was looking for when it was kind of dropped in our laps.
Yep.
And it's a financial pit.
yeah,
And if someone in all of this paperwork had the choice of, would you like the train refurbished or would you like the whole park done? That's your choice. Because honestly, by the time you get done with
Yeah, that's
all
it.
the asbestos, all the lead paint, all that, that would have paid for a lot.
it would, it would be very costly to the overall project budget to do that.
And someone might have a little, some negative feedback somewhere, but they did with the trees too, and no one's really mentioned it since then. They got used to seeing the mountains, they got used to being able to see through it.
I hear nothing but positive things about it now. that
And
we-
so, a walking path going through multiple areas, that's entirely a positive thing. And I know that there's areas there that are very low that definitely have to be brought up because they were always wet.
Yes,
And so, that's just what it is. And the increased parking on this side over here would be great because it's pretty limited.
yes,
My opinion only is adding to the play area for the tot lot and for the younger kids. When they get to be older, well, they're at the other park for the most part. The parks aren't that far apart as far as I did a park and everything offered there and here. I did notice there that at I did a park that the pickleball area is busy a lot.
yes. Yeah, so that's a good question. You see that we included pickleball in an undeveloped part. So the city owns every part of that block except for what used to be dance studio, and insider information is going to be a dentist office soon. So there was the idea of do we want to talk about pickleball expansion? That's not my first desire for that area. It's very hilly. It would be pretty expensive to make it flat enough. And because of its popularity, I think we'd run into parking issues right away too. But that's another one of those, get people talking, get people thinking, well, I have a different idea now that you mention it, blah, blah, blah. So is there any other feedback on that idea from the committee?
Well, I know a lot of pickleball players, and it seems like it's a wave.
Kind of a fad that might kind of wear out a
Well,
little bit, or?
There's 10,000 people turning 65 every day, so,
Yeah.
I mean, even the young people are Generation Z or M or Y I think we have to, Wasilla has come a long way in a short amount of time, but we've got a long way to go. We're planning for generations. And we gotta start someplace, and this ought to be a good place to start.
And another thing that I've noticed over the years is just watching people walk to this park from the Main Street area. So they're not always driving to the park to go to the park. They're in town, they're grabbing a bite to eat wherever and bring it down to the park for lunch.
Yep.
So, and most people also like the large green space that's offered.
Yep.
That, everything doesn't need to be full, in my opinion. But just, in regards to pickleball, I've noticed that I did a park that there's a lot of families that play pickleball.
Yeah.
So once again, it's family activities.
Well, and the pickleball courts that I did a park are actually just a repurposing of that outdoor ice skating rink.
Right.
So it was already a flat thing. It was really easy.
The ice was only ever put in once or twice.
Yeah, and my understanding on that was because it was hard to keep the kids from contaminating it with sticks and rocks.
Well, because the areas around it weren't finished,
Yeah.
so there was gravel just
Yeah.
kick in, and it would just
Yeah.
cause a mess. So
Yeah, so
don't
those are
mess.
and I appreciate being able to talk to you about this as a committee of the whole. Those are those nuances where it's a good idea, but until you have someone like Jess and his crew that get down in the weeds and figure out exactly how it's going to work, you have to be able to say, it was a good idea, it didn't work out. And so, or if it does, we have to work really hard at it. Hot mopping takes time. Who's the volunteer group? So you're going to see these natural things that line up with a well thought out plan.
Thinking it through.
Yeah. And being able to see it all the way through so you can see the vision and it's done in your mind because you've got the operational awareness of what it takes to make it happen. I think the expanding the parking lot is a no-brainer. It's incomplete right now. You'll notice that we kept it on the Connect side because that's the lower traffic. That's safer. There's more stops. We don't want on Herning. People do 50 down Herning. And so that's why one of the original drafts I looked at had a connection on a Herning. And I said, no. It's got to be Connect. That's the safe way to access it. But we do want that corner connection where if you leave here, you'll cross at the crosswalk and then you enter into the park and then you've got choices where you want to go. The fencing remains along Swanson because that is kind of a known barrier that we talked about. And then what's not included in here is more specific age groups for the play areas. And then, if there was a desire to phase certain things that maybe we're not sure about, we want to see how it would play out, you could say that. You could say, I want, I think back to the amphitheater for a minute, maybe in the future we want to do that. Don't do something that prevents that, but we want
Maybe
to start with other things
promotes it.
first. Yeah. Or if you wanted to just wholeheartedly say, no, we like the idea of a sledding hill or some multi-use, something I haven't even thought of, that's the important feedback we're looking for tonight.
Okay. Anything else, Pat, in your bag of tricks?
I don't. I guess before we wrap up, is there any, I guess I'd love to just kind of get on record if there is anything that drastic that you want to see added, changed, because what I'm going to do with this is kind of, I'll look at the minutes and rewatch the video, but distill what I heard, take it back to Corvus, and say this is the guidance and the kind of general feel from the Parks and Rec Commission tonight, that we're gonna abandon the caboose and we're gonna, I don't know, I guess maybe is there a strong feeling, yes or no, for the pavilion, or the not the pavilion, the amphitheater?
I don't have personally a very strong feeling, only because when I go walking down that Idita Park, the people that are there are looking for a place to plug in their phone.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So sadly, that's not the intent, right?
Yep.
So do you want to do that, or would you opt for something that is actually more, park themed?
Right.
It's good to have plugins and power up, but I think that one of the problems I have right now about what you're asking about
Yeah.
is that my kid's 40 years old.
Yeah.
So
What do your grandkids want?
my grandkids aren't even in the state.
Fly them up here. Let's ask them.
Roger. But I think that part of it is I like hearing people talk about what is wanted and what's needed.
Yeah.
And those are the parents that you are representing or talking about.
Yeah.
That commented on these processes.
Yeah, we got it out on Facebook, and the moms groups talked about it, and put those bathrooms closer. My 2-year-old barely makes it to the bathroom, and I feel confident that some of the things are easy no-brainers, like we talked about, playgrounds, getting the bathrooms, seeing the use, birthday party, bathrooms, safe parking, crossing. What I don't want to hijack the thought process is, if you as community representatives have another vision, or are dying to have a I saw a park that had one of those really cool wavy slides. I mean, that's not on here, but if you wanted
Why not,
some
right?
But-
awesome slide thing,
But to deal with that grade and where the amphitheater is
Might be.
proposed,
yeah,
would that be a good fit?
hey, I'd go on that slide. Give me a potato sack and
I'm there.
So I'm just saying,
One of the things that being on this commission for as long as I have, we have all these great ideas. We have the golden triangle up where Home Depot's at, of what we're gonna do with that, because we've got all these new people we're serving. Well, let's take it, run with it, and get it done. Don't stop in the middle.
yeah. So as Scott talked about with the kind of broader discussion, I can't stop talking. So there is $200,000 that we have to start on a master plan, and so there's going to be an RFP, or request for proposal, from consultants. Corvus is definitely going to be one of them. All of the rest of the designers are going to be excited to be part of this vision, and they're going to come with a structure, and they're going to say, what do you want? And they're going to ask you as a body, and all the work that you've done and all the thinking you've done and all of the constituent interaction you've made, to say, this is what we think this park should be for, and this is what we think that park should be for, and this is what we've never been able to do, and we've got to find a spot for it. And then, the directors and subject matter experts will weigh in and say, I like that idea, but we got major problems with it over here, like the caboose. Why can't we keep it? Or what are the impediments, right? But the real risk is losing momentum and never getting it done, right? So we have to have a time where we say we put a bow on it, and this is how we're going to attack this. How we're going to eat the elephant. We're going to start at the trunk, and we're all going to work together because we've done that planning. And so this is kind of a little mini version of that, because we only have so many public meetings. We only have so many involved public members. Decisions have to be made, and then we have to move forward, or else we end up in the gyre that you've mentioned many times, where we talked about it but nothing happened. And so, kind of a little civics discussion. Council has made the Parks and Rec Commission to do a lot of the heavy thinking, and then say we've opened it to the public. We've had these surveys. We really feel XYZ, and then they take that as, a major piece in their decision-making. They're gonna supply the funding, and much like what the Matsu softball group has done, is to come and introduce the value. So work with Mr. Fleckenstein, I told him to use the WASI model, where you gotta come to multiple meetings and you gotta talk about how many teams you bring up and how many people are visiting from the rest of the state and lower 48 and how much sales tax that brings in and how that puts Wasilla on the map. And, Scott's done a phenomenal job at the Menard bringing in every venue that they can and more so, because that is how you get the confidence from the council to expend major funds. And that's how the bathrooms came about. Bathrooms are substandard at the parks, and 2 council members said, I love it, get them one and get the soccer field one. And okay, there we go.
Kind of adding to that part of the conversation is the direction we got from the council is they love the idea that they were starting to do something on Nunley, but they wanted more input in the plan. They love the idea of expanding with Matsu. They love the idea of maybe adding at the Menard, but what they're just having trouble with is what's the whole picture? What's going to pop up the next time? So that is a big part of keep momentum with some of these projects, but then with the overall plan, they're really looking at future, not just what's right in front of us. So they're trying to really bring it all together. And so there may create, again, procedure, but it's really going to be that opportunity for the commission and the community to say, we want more tennis courts. Not only do we want more softball, we need more tennis courts, right? So we keep getting head down into Nunley Park or that, but what is the bigger picture? And so they really are looking for that picture because they want to invest in a lot of what the Parks and Rec program has going on.
I think one of the things that has caught me several times is that we want to go forward, but we don't use all of our tools. We have social media that is costing us virtually zero for input. So why aren't we promoting some sort of a sign up and tell us what you think? I mean, it's something that we.
They did that for the survey.
Huh?
They did that for the survey.
I know, well, they're gonna have to do some more.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And that's, I think, part of the big vision is.
I mean,
Yep.
you got $200,000 sitting
Yep.
there looking for a master plan to happen.
Yep, and that'll be a huge component of it, right? So when the RFP goes out, it'll say, how will you garner as much attention as possible? The city is very unique. We're the 4th largest city in the state, but we're all alone. We're not a Juneau, we're not a Fairbanks, we're not a Anchorage. So we've got our work cut out for us to find our niche because we're much larger than a Ketchikan or a Sitka or a Kodiak.
Well, we've got $100,000 triangle. I mean, 100,000 population triangle.
Correct.
That we serve along with everybody else.
Exactly. We're the hub. And
Yeah.
so exactly as the library says, they serve 87% of their customers are not city residents, they're borough residents. But they do that with a completely city-funded budget. And they're bursting at the seams, and so it's the same problem everywhere. And if a city resident finds value in a facility, the rest of the neighbors will too.
So is there, on this drawing, are there swing sets anywhere?
There are not drawn swing sets. There's a plan for that. So I think what I anticipate is there'll be swing sets and at least 2 styles of play areas. The younger kid one and the interesting 7.
Next one.
Yeah. And then, because I think it's pretty clear that from the user groups and from the way it's been historically, we don't want to have anything that is too appealing to the oldest kids because of that sense of risk. And then, yeah. Really
So how many, you got the toddlers, you got the next range,
Yep.
Go from 5 to 12.
12 would probably be the top, wouldn't it?
Yep.
And that's pretty typical. That's the average playground we have, like in all of our small areas.
Okay,
There are 5 to 12s is the typical, like Carter Park.
yeah.
Lake Lucille, a lot of those are 5 to 12s. And then you obviously want to do the toddler, up to probably 5 or so, and then once they get to that point, then they're going to the next stage up, which is the 5 to 12. And you want those separated apart to where they're not in the same general area, because if they're right next to each other and the little kid sees Big Brother go to it and you got the nightmare. So the recommendation is that you separate them and keep space between them so you're less likely to incorporate that issue.
No, roger that. Well, gentlemen, and commission, visiting representatives, do we have anything else that needs to be discussed? Did I go buy something?
Did you what?
Did I go buy something that I should have? I just put mine away. Oh, we're good. So, staff comments? You guys just about used up your time. Oh, no.
Are you on the next audience comments? Is that where you're at?
Yeah.
10?
Other comments?
Are we at staff comments now then? Staff and commission?
You anybody else have something to say?
So, about the plans, I like the fact that, in the plans, it's showing more or less like all of the different possibilities, right? It's not saying you have to do it all, but it's showing what is feasible. But starting somewhere, getting the low areas filled in, getting the toddler playground starting, because it's just been a tot lot. And not that it couldn't be something else, but just getting something started and moving forward so people can see some progress. But, it just, the caboose was a great idea as far as ideas go, but wasn't how we envisioned it. And it ends up being a costly liability, no matter what you do,
Without any use.
since it can't be used for what it was intended to be. My opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll summarize quickly. I think the caboose, it's kind of a no-brainer. It should go. Safety hazard. Amphitheater, I don't have much of a strong opinion on, but considering we have 2 others that don't see much use, it might be better to save that possibility for later. I think we should be prioritizing probably toddler playground equipment, and then possibly bringing in for an older user group. And then again, if we're looking at a phased approach, maybe we see what happens with how much traction pickleball at Idita Park gains over the next couple years or so. And if it drops off, then maybe we find something else to do with this empty lot, if anything. But yeah, expanded parking's great, the community garden's great, fenced in, great. I really like all of the sidewalks and people being able to walk through it, so I think it's a good plan. I think that there's a few things that could be changed, and I think we have discussed them, so.
And as for me, I think it's great that you brought that it's come to us. And like I said, I'll be even happier when we get to point B and seeing something from A to B happen. So that's where I'm at, and I thank you for your time and input, because we always can use input. So, thank you again, appreciate it. And thanks for sticking with us. No coffee, though. All right,
Next meeting,
this meeting is adjourned.
next meeting is when?
Next meeting is November 11th. 12th, sorry. Same time, same station.